Hello and welcome to another webinar from Octahedroid. And we're glad to have you again. Joining me, I have Jesús Manuel Olivas and Omar Aguirre, two of our co-founders, CEO and CTO also. How are you? How are you doing, Jesús, Omar?
Been good, can't complain.
Uh,
Great. Thank you. My first time here.
yes,
Excited.
it's your first time here, and we're very glad to have you here to talk about how to build a successful open source project in 2026. The idea of this conversation is basically to go through all of your expertise and experience building open source projects, and how do you see the industry? Basically, what we will cover in this discussion is a series of points that we regard as important in order to build these open source projects, whether you are starting or you already have some experience, and also to have an honest conversation about the state of the industry. Recently, there have been a lot of discussions around open source, and we wanted to talk with you both because of your experience and everything you have contributed to the community. So it's going to be a useful discussion, but also an honest discussion. So expect some opinions from personal lived experience. And that takes me to my first question, actually, that it's what are, in your experience, like the most sustainable motivations for starting an open source project? Like what 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 would you say would be the main motivation for someone that wants to build an open source project and actually make it last in your own experience?
Okay, I think I can start with that. Um, I people ask me this often, and I always say like the first motivation is trying to solve a problem for yourself. Uh, in the day by day, like uh, and trying to solve problems, you see opportunities and ways to solve something like, like some little tool to automate a little piece of your work. I mean, I think that's the first motivation. Like even it's not open, like it's not for starting an open source, it's just for you, right? Like trying to solve something for yourself and be quicker. And the second most popular, at least for me, is like, I mean, at least for me, because it's the main motivation that bring me to contribute in a couple of projects, is like learning something. So probably Jesus has the story, but my first motivation to work in open source is trying to learn something for myself, for the work that I'm doing. I think that's the most important. I mean, it's the real, like you are working with real problems, you are trying to solving real problems, and that's the main motivation, at least for me.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
totally agree. And we could take that, back in the day when we started Drupal Console, the first thing is we want to solve a problem we had at that very moment. We had this, we needed something to build modules, and because there was a lot of boilerplate, and at the same time, we wanted to learn how Drupal 8, was evolving, and we needed to understand how that works. And so we take like both, solving a problem, learning the new platform, and I mean, fortunately the project was, really successful, that we end up, having a lot of community across that. But in the reality, that's very, very important, what do you want to solve, and I mean, give you a chance to learn something new.
So you would
Just to
say, well, I don't know if you want to add something else.
Yes, just to mention like something like that's exactly what happened. I mean, the change from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8 was a really big breaking change. Like the whole thing was changing, and there was a lot of, I mean, personally, like a lot of afraid because we don't know how the new things work. And actually, Jesus has a lot of experience on Symfony the where the Drupal core was moved, and actually that was the opportunity that I take to learn Symfony and be prepared for Drupal. That in that time was my my daily work is based on Drupal.
Mm.
Was based on Drupal.
So, well, yeah, basically what you're saying is that it has to come from this very internal motivation, no? But I would be curious, like, uh, developers and the community in general talk about open source really also about like one of the purposes or the reasons behind doing it is to help the community, or also, I don't know, maybe uh, participate in projects of these very large companies, and like you were saying, to start developing this experience. But you would say that then it's more important to have this intrinsic motivation, this internal motivation before thinking about contributing the community? And if so, why is that your recommendation instead of thinking about let's contribute to the community, because that would be like the reputation that open source usually has.
I think at least at the very beginning, it just like, makes sense to you, to your own problem or your client problem. You're solving something for a particular project, and then at some point, if you realize this solution it's gonna help or could help someone else, then that's the point that you build something more generic, or more, something that can be more through configuration behave in a in several ways. But that's why would you end up solving a problem for the community at large. And totally agree, at some point getting recognition for what you build, it's gonna came after you build it. So it's not at least from my point of view, is you don't build it for like getting famous or something like that. It's you build it because you needed someone, and you realize someone else need it. And at some point, if the project is successful, you will get the recognition. And obviously it's gonna end up having like more leads, and some other kind of benefits by doing something like that.
Mm. In your opinion, Omar, what do you think?
I think at the beginning, like Jesus mentions, it's yes. I mean, we are looking this, or at least for our experience, we are looking like start making these projects, or the motivation of this problem of this project is like trying to solve something. And I think that's the I think that's, at least for us, is like the first, is the most usual motivation. But I mean, the answer that of always is it depends.
Mm.
Also, there is, I mean, I don't know if it's important, like for me, like you saying, like create reputation, or create like making being start being popular or something like that. But actually, there is another motivation that I always, when, I mean, I have been in some meetups and talking with some people, and even like really, yeah, like people that is getting started with his career, his technical career. And I always say like this, like an advice, like start contributing to open source can bring you, um, I mean, I won't say like popularity, but at least they have like people start looking at you, or at least you can start like working in a more solid portfolio. There is a
Mm.
lot of if for example, I'm one of those people. I one of those the guides. Like if I have like a resume or something like that, I really pay attention to to his GitHub profile, what he's doing, of if he's contributing or something. That really helps a lot. And even you don't have to be like really, like like a real expert in the framework of the tool you are contributing. There is a lot of ways to contribute to open source, but I mean, you have having that experience to contribute in with a lot of people in bigger projects, like, helps a lot, motivates a lot. I mean, that's a really good or at least I always recommend that as an starting point for someone that is just getting started with his professional career. That can be like a really good, uh, like, motivation or advice to bring some visibility of what they are doing, or at least in the things that they are interested. I always say that. What is the technology you're interested in most? Well, take a look of the open source projects and try to involve in those projects. You can do what just please don't make like typo fixes, because I mean, that doesn't work. But I don't know, documentation, translations, actually, is a popular tag in GitHub, like first issue or something like that. But something like that. Like that can be another motivator, for at least for people that is getting started. That is a good motivation.
Mm,
But I mean, personally, from my experience, it's most like trying to solve things for myself that can potentially help others. That was at least my journey.
okay. Not yet. I understand totally. Like it's more organic in a way, not to actually uh, start with your problems, contribute to a project that maybe is trying to solve that problem, or maybe start your own. But one of the things that I also uh, think it's important about this is, well, because open source at the end of the day is publicly available. I would say that also this having the right temperament, or I don't know, like this, like the right sensibility, or not getting too sensible about things matter a lot. Um, what would you say is like the right temperament for open source? Because I suppose that once you are out there in the rodeo, a lot of things can happen, and I suppose you have experienced that firsthand. I don't know, Jesus, if you can talk a little bit about having
Well, yeah.
this right temperament for
First, you
open
have to be
source.
patient.
Mm,
And you're starting slow. Try to build something easy, and then start growing it. That's very important. And well, as you were mentioning, you start getting some like visibility,
mhm,
and it means you need to understand, like, you're working with something. You don't expect like immediate, like getting money of this. I mean, it's gonna get at some point, but it's at the very beginning. It's more about like helping, fixing a problem, right? Then, you need to be comfortable with people, working with teams and people across different like time zones, asynchronously. That's very important. And definitely you need to understand and be happy to delegate some work. People is gonna approach you, and you have to understand how to say no. It's like, I want to, I like this project that you're building, and I want to add this 100 of new features. It's like, maybe we can probably add a couple of them instead of like going to 100. And you need to understand when saying, "Hey, stop, this isn't probably not the right choice for the project." And you need to be careful in understanding, like, people, it's going to complain about what you're
mm,
building at some point, complain about your code, or complain about way too many things on the project. So again, you need to, have, again, the temperament to understand that, and talk to people, and getting at some, like, starting those probably conversations, and and again, being happy and willing to help people to onboarding on the project.
yeah. No, yeah, yeah, totally. And also like you say, no, like these, or maybe they are these external parties that is, I don't know, maybe they don't, or they contribute, or maybe they ask for different features, but at the end of the day, yeah, you have to accept that they're gonna be these external people. I don't know, commenting on what you're doing, or maybe contributing, or like you were saying, even at some points you can delegate some of the things. So yeah, I would say you have to be prepared to have this collaboration mindset, no? And also I would say like kind of in a way letting go of maybe what would you do with, I don't know, maybe a product or another type of development work. Maybe just to go to the second point, would you say there's like a motivation that or something that should not motivate you to do an open source? Like, is there a thing that I don't know, if you hear someone saying, I want to do open source because of this, or I'm expecting this particular result. Is there a particular motivation you would say that it's not helpful to build an open source project?
I will say the first one is make money for that.
Mm,
That's something that I mean it's not going to happen. Like make money from open source, at least for the project itself. I mean,
Immediately, right now, like immediately
immediately
start.
is not. I mean, there is another like linked stories from that, like the things you can do, like moving forward, like bring some visibility, like trying to be like an expertise of the thing you are doing or the ecosystem where you are where you work. And I mean like try and bring more like, let's say, like consultancy or services. That is something like is more realistic. But the first one I will say is like you are not making money for. I mean, if you are trying to make an open source for the money, probably it's not a good option. So what are the others? You have been mentioned about the temperament that you need to to have like making this. And I would like to add something like there is a little phases of the contribute of the I will say of contributing to open source. The first one is the the all the love of what you're doing, like, and knowing that it's making an impact. It's like really like, I don't know, like it's, I don't know what will be the best word to say it. Like it's really joyful to
mm,
do it. But you know, like it will be at some time, at some point that probably, and probably we are going to talk about I mean in a little bit about that. But you know, like when people start asking of things, or they are not agree of the direction you are taking, or the other ones, the most popular things in I see that in other projects, like people start complaining about
mm,
something, or they require support of something that I mean, we are making this for nobody's paying for that, and people start like requesting features that, and we don't have like a lot of
mm,
time.
Yeah.
So that is
New
the
features
other
and
phase,
and
like
support.
support it, or things like you have to support it. That's the other phase when I mean, and this happened when the project start like taking traction, and that is when the things are not getting like too really good, or like not very happy. You start to making something, what you start from a hobby and then it's an obligation. But I mean that happens with everything. I mean, and it's not only open source, it's with everything, with almost everything, right? But yeah, I mean, what is going back to the point, like motivation that is not going to work, not, you are not making money,
mm,
you are not making everybody happy,
mm,
uh, which is another that can be good for that. And I mean, and in the end of the, I mean, at the end, like making a project that start bring a lot of impact is going to have like a lot of little issues with I mean in, even you can with things that you can imagine that is going to happen.
yeah.
um, People are I mean, besides the things we talk about, the support and the others, I mean, like probably egos or something like that are going to with the community itself can be like, I mean, we have a couple of stories there, and like something is has interest conflicts that can be another 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 of the things that can happen or problems you can have when you have a project that is having a lot of impact in the community where you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, I think another point for something like this is, I mean, you don't really have time to commit time to maintain the project. It doesn't mean you are not going to release the code. You can still release the code that's solving the problem, but you need to be clear on the README file. This is as it is. There's no plans to support this. I build this because I need it.
Mm.
Someone else, I mean, want to take this and take to the next level, just go for it. So again, it's because it requires time. It requires a lot of your time, a lot of your patience, and that's important. And as Omar was mentioning, there will be drama. There will be. It won't be like full. I mean, only unicorns and rainbows. We all know that, but in the end, it's you need to be aware of that. I mean, when you're starting to do
Yeah.
something like that, and be clear, right? I build this because I need it, and just take it from here, or or invite people to help you building and make it bigger, no?
Yeah. Yeah, what I take from what you're saying is at the end of the day, you start with this very organic process about solving your own problem, and maybe if somebody else has it, like make it open source, but also you have in a way to let go of a lot of things or realize that it's not something that is gonna, I don't know, help you make money. It's not gonna help you achieve this external, I don't know, like benefits maybe. No, it's something that has to grow organically, and little by little you have to have patience and have this cool mind in order to deal with everything that it implies. But also, what you are saying takes me to the next point, that it's one of the I think most important aspects of the open source, this sustainability. Like you were saying, Jesus, is something that you need to give time to maintain, and probably if you are also, well, if you have a full-time job, it's also kind of like your time is money in a way, no? Because you are deciding to spend time in that maybe is not gonna give you any um, monetary retribution. But what in your experience could be something that can help make this project sustainable, or how can you evaluate your sustainability when you're starting an open source project? Yeah,
Yeah,
like to actually achieve that it lasts or that it doesn't disappear.
yeah. And yeah, I think sustainability is a very, very important. And I think you were mentioning we connected with the previous conversation. It's not like you build something and people is gonna use it and you will get famous, rich and famous, and
Mm,
that's it. I mean, ain't gonna happen like 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 right away.
yeah,
And what can you do in order to make this sustainable? It's either you are very good with something, like on the CMS world, or with AI, or any particular topic. So you build a either library, or framework, or put together some of your knowledge to how you build like big couple implementation. Let's just trying to bring some of our own examples,
yeah, yeah,
and you build a services agency that it help you to make your project sustainable. So you basically you use your projects to build your client work, and then based on their needs, you can keep improving those projects, and then again you make money because you're working on like real projects. Not like open source is not real, it's very real, but again, some like people is paying you for do that, and you can keep contributing back to that particular open source project, so more people can use the project, can benefit. and they can also contribute it back to you. Another way to make this sustainable, it's like your company, as an employee, your company pay you for contributing to a particular project. You have a lot of agencies or companies that sponsor people, or it's either sponsor their employees or sponsor some other people. Like there's ways to buy me a coffee, whatever, or put some money on the table, like on a monthly basis for that people to keep improving the project, because that project is important for them. It's either you hire them or just contribute, pay them to build the project. And finally, another thing that came to my mind, you can build a product, something like a hosting company for whatever framework, and then you can build this tool around the open source project and make money. And I mean, you can think about like Vercel or HashiCorp. There's a lot of examples, Akia, Pantheon. There's a lot of like examples on that particular point. Build a product which in the end it's gonna end up, I mean, at some point getting you to offer like support and services for that particular need.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it doesn't have to be. Um, I mean, like we were saying from the beginning, no, it's an organic process, and maybe eventually, if the project grows to a particular degree or something, uh, to a state in which you can build this service agency or company around it, it makes sense to start thinking about, well, maybe this becomes other thing, or if it starts to get bigger, how can I get all these resources to actually make this sustainable? Um, but now I wanted to ask you the opposite things, like why do you think that most open source projects fail to achieve this sustainability? Maybe we already touched upon it a bit, but is there a particular thing that you see that some people building open source projects fail to do in order to achieve this sustainability? In your
Well,
experience,
well,
Omar?
I think, well, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna, I mean, you need to treat your open source project as a product, use some marketing strategies. That's what we were probably doing. I don't know, Mark, what do you think about this?
I mean, like most of the trying to answer the question, like what are the common failure points? Like I was mentioned earlier, like when your the passion becomes an obligation, or where the things start getting like wrong in a way that you are really in love what you are doing, and people start asking like, I need this, I need that, and like an obligation of if they are paying for something of that, no. Uh, which other failure points are like really common? Like uh, the, we mentioned like the support, uh, like the other things, like actually this happened with I will say with small projects, like which is the daycare problem they mentioned. Like the
Mm,
people like start like just using the project itself, and you're the only one like looking for him and bring features, and like we mentioned, like if this is not organic, if it is something like start like you need to start making more and more things, and that is and you don't have any of the things that mentioned Jesus earlier, like uh like a job that is using this and trying to make money for what you're doing, or you don't have a product or something like that. It will be like really really hard, like for just one person trying to bring more features to his to this to the project itself. We need to pay the bills, we need to make to eat. So I mean, that's the reality, right? Uh, which other which other thing I will say like um I don't know. I think that that's most of the the
I,
most
yeah, I think I can add
available.
like not building a community
Mm,
Yeah,
on the
that's
project, like not,
definitely.
like not being successful on onboarding new people, on delegating, and that gets you up to a burnout. And then, I mean, it's in. I mean, again, you have a life. I mean, you have a job, you have a family, you have. I mean, it's open source. It's. I mean, you need to like do way many things than that. So if you get a burnout, then at some point you're gonna no longer want to work in this project, and way too many other things in your family, your life. You're gonna start like losing interest in not only on the open source. So again, not building a community, it's probably one of the common pitfalls that can make you fail on building an open source project.
Mm, now that you mentioned, I mean, it's not related, but it's something that I it can happen. At least if you're working, you have a job, you're working in a company, you're building that in that company, and there is like like some uh, IP contract or something like that, and 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 if you did that in the time working
Mhm.
with the company, that also can have some interest conflicts there. Like uh, I don't really have a a fresh uh, like fresh news about that, but that's absolutely something that can happen if you did something that has the potential to be open source by the company, but you did in your time working to a company, that can bring like another
Yeah, I mean,
kind
without the
of
previous
problems.
approval, with the company, like, you're gonna work on this particular thing. Yeah, because you're working on company time, you're working on a computer provided by the company, things like that. Yeah, and that could
Yes,
be
yes,
complicated. Yeah, and being realistic, getting back to the makers versus taker, there's definitely more people using than people in building a particular thing, and I mean, it's lacking of founding for project. It's another big problem to keep maintaining the project. At some point, again, as Omar were mentioning, and when this start turning into an obligation, and you have something else to do, like living a life, sometimes, I mean, people end up abandoning projects, and that's why we end up seeing a lot of like abandoned projects on the internet. Like, and people like working like different things, and that's pretty sad, right? Because sometimes it's a matter of like, if you are benefiting, you're taking benefit from using something, or making money for using something, and a good idea is to put money on it. Put your money for that particular on those particular projects to keep the project alive, so you can keep making money, right?
yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
smart.
No, yeah, totally. Um, yeah, like what I understand also is at the end of the day, you create these projects to help someone, and you come from this mentality, or to help yourself even, and you come from this mentality of actually doing something, putting something out there that is good to the world and things like that. But you cannot control that. Maybe, I don't know, other parties have these bad intentions, or like you say, they like it's been a common discussion lately, this about makers versus takers, because at the end of the day, part of what makes it sustainable, as you were saying, is having this community that helps each other. No? And if at the end of the day they don't do it, or like, yeah, they only see for their own benefit, it can affect you. But going back to something like you were saying at the beginning of this question, Jesus, that can take me to another point. about treating this like a product. It's interesting because at the end of the day, like we were saying, the monetary factor at the beginning is something that you have to not think about or discard at the beginning. But at the end of the day, there's this methodology that works when building software tools or web development tools that actually is useful for open source because at the end of the day, it's a project. In your experience, maybe we can use another of our examples, like people know that we have built Drupal Console, more recently Drupal Decoupled. We had a webinar on it if you want to check that out. Like, what do you mean by treating this as a product, these open sources projects as products? Like, and can you give us like maybe an example of how we did it with Drupal Console, Drupal Decoupled? Yeah, like this methodology of productizing maybe
I mean,
open source.
the most important one, and I think one of the biggest one, at least in Drupal console, is understand the users. Uh, I mean, understand who use the tool, what kind of problem it solves, and like being trying to be really aware of that, because that's probably the most important point, which understanding the users, because when you start, like, let's say, cutting something that doesn't have like any structure or any, or obviously where you are starting, like something can be like really unuseful for everyone, but it's useful for you, but probably it's not for everyone. So like this is where we starting to bring the concept of productize, like trying to understand the users are going to or yeah, like the personas are using this tool or this project, and trying to be aware of that. I will say, which are others, like the documentation. That's kind of is, at least for technical projects is one of the most difficult ones, because uh, not a lot of us like to document. We just like to code. I mean, Jesus know about that.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I I
and
really hate to document, but that's the thing that most of the times I do kind of well. I mean, I'm not a native English speaker, but at least for the structure, the things how they're using, I'm kind of the organized guy in the room here. Uh,
yeah, and taking that, like non-English speaker, and in getting back to like onboarding people, providing a good experience. I remember one of the biggest challenges we have in Drupal console and health for, I mean, making more people either contribute to the project and use the projects, make it like multilingual, make it easier for your users to use the platform and to contribute it back. So we had documentation in multiple languages and documentation from how to use the platform and how to contribute it back. So I think that's also important in making, I mean, understanding is your user base fully distributed? I mean, it's across like multiple countries speaking multiple languages. Then that's a good idea to have something like that on the plate.
I would say the one of the another key factor, and this is, I mean, not everything is bad or is wrong, but there is a lot of very very smart people outside, like really really people that knows a lot about the what we are doing, or a lot of the tool we are trying to solve, or someone that really really sees the value and brings like a really good feedback for you, like trying that. I mean, that is a game. I would say that is a game changer for, and most for the contributors, or the maintainers of the project. Like, I mean, and we can see here that we are making something similar, like making a product, understand the users, trying to bring, and like document well, and hear the users that are using the tool. Uh, yeah, like, you know, and some other factors in the middle, like the well, at least for technical, for more technical tools, like, you know, developer experience. If you're making tools to help developers, like the developer experience, that is something like I can say, like, uh, Jesus is really takes care of that, of the developer experience. He has
Mm.
You know, make people life easier, save them time, and make your users happy, you know, user base happy. I think, yeah, and you know, I think another important point, and we talk about, you know, marketing and promotion, it's really important. And you know, again, getting back to some of the other topics we mentioned in the past, you build a community across the product, and then that community can help you, you know, talking about the project, you know, and that's really important, at least for us in our experience, you know, attending conferences, speaking at conferences, doing trainings, you know, that helps a lot because you are building, you know, material, training material, teaching people how to use a particular tool, and then you bring, you know, this particular library or framework, and then people, I mean, sees how this particular tool can help them save time or be more productive. And in the end, you know, time is money, and they realize, okay, this tool, it's real. It's not like only like, you know, it's something I can use, or they realize it's not that hard to use, or they realize there's documentation. And people tend to like know about things, but they don't investigate a lot. So when you put all the things, you know, on this particular event, like talking about this, about that, how you can use it or properly use it or not abuse it, which is important, people understand, you know, and they can, okay, they can realize, okay, then this could be useful for this particular task at my job, and, you know, can make me look good. That's something like we can, I mean, talk about as a real example, how we use like this, treat your project like a product on Drupal console to make a project successful.
Mhm. Yeah. No, yeah, like what you say is very important. No? Once you know your users, then how can you make their lives easier? No, maybe like with this developer experience, this documentation, at the end of the day, marketing to actually promote to other people that may find useful. And again, the community becomes also this important factor. Um, but yeah, like following that philosophy of really being close to the users. Uh, but what I think adds a level of difficulty to these open source projects in general is that thing about it's something that can play that differently depending on how you approach it, but this community factor can also become very it can be good or bad. I don't want to say it's conflictive, but sometimes you have to navigate certain dynamics, no? And I would say that you do have a lot of experience navigating or promoting these open source projects, maybe in circles that sometimes, even though they call themselves open source, it's difficult to contribute because they want to dominate certain narrative, no? Or they want to
Yeah,
just release certain products. Like, can you talk a little
yeah,
bit about how to navigate those community dynamics or what
yeah.
does that
You
imply?
know, in the end, circle has inner circles. You know, there's people taking decisions and deciding the direction how things are going to look like or how they should look like. And at some point, you know, those decisions are biased by, you know, their own benefit. I'm not saying this is always what happens, but in the end, if someone and if someone is sponsoring, or, you know, a company's investing a lot of money in a particular project, at some point they're going to decide
the
based on
direction.
their, yeah, direction, based on their needs, or you know, their benefit, and that's where things sometimes gets a little tricky. You build something and maybe that doesn't, you know, maybe play well with their direction they're trying to do, and then at some point can create some like difficulties in the way. but in the end, we all know, in the end, open source, its communities are, you know, it's people, involved on those communities, and humans tend to behave as humans, and sometimes, people have as conflicts with each other. But I mean, nothing that you cannot solve, by, you know, talking about it openly, talking about your motivation with what you're building, and at some point, getting into agreements, or at least agree to disagree at some point. Yeah.
And another thing, like adding to the points that Jesus mentioned, the more big the more bigger the project is, the more, I mean, like the more uh like the more inner circles are there, it's more difficult, like trying to contribute. Also, like there is, like you mentioned, there are egos, there are bias, there are different priorities. But if I mean we see that the most biggest open source projects, Drupal was some of them. Kubernetes is another really huge, and there is, like, like a lot of companies making decisions there. But this is kind of, I mean, is, I will say, is a good experience, but it's not the prettiest. Yes. You need, I mean, you need to have some resilience there, but you need, I mean, one of the, like, you can, how can I say, like, you should be prepared, like, really, really, I mean, prepare for all of that. If your project has a lot of impact, you have to be prepared for a lot of those things. You have to be prepared for and being, like, really clear about the your, what are your expectation, and probably there will be some point where you just want to let the project go. Like, if someone, I mean, because that was a case for, I mean, that was, we are saying that for experience. There was a point where we just need to let the things go, for the good, for first, for the humans behind the project. Is the first thing. The next, for the project itself, and like, probably, I mean, like I was saying, is the bigger the project is, bring more impact, and probably there, even is healthy to just step back, or step down of the project, and let it continue if that is the case, or let it dead if that is the other case,
Mhm.
right? Uh,
At the end of the day, yeah, there's a lot of things that even if you treat your project as a product, you have to take into account because of the nature of open source, like egos, these inner circles, like also maybe having this emotional resilience at the end of the day, because you can have certain expectations about a particular project, but maybe they are not going to be as enthusiastic about your contributions. And the same with your own projects. Maybe some people is going to take advantage of them. But at the end of the day, I think if you focus on solving the problem, being close to the users, and actually building this community, as we have said, is key, no, to make it sustainable, and actually producing something useful for the world and the industry in general, or other developers using it at least. So, well, with this, I wanted to maybe collect your final thoughts on this open source debate. I think there's a lot to talk about. This was just a quick overview of how we see right now the state, but of the open source in general. But Just to close, Jesus and Omar, like what would you suggest, like this final tips or this, I don't know, these some final ideas on how to make this sustainable, how to maybe set successful boundaries for having long-term success. Uh, yeah, like what would you say to the audience thinking about these open source projects, just to close this discussion? Like, what would be your final recommendations?
I think we all agree, open source drives innovation, and we need to make sure we need to work in a way to make those projects sustainable, and making projects sustainable, open source projects sustainable. It requires to have like real conversation with real people, and why are you building this, and what your boundaries are, and then to make sure you set your boundaries, you need to understand, this community and the dynamics, and understand, your motivations and other people motivations, right? So it's, again, making sure you set clear expectations, you make plans, you document well, in the end, making sure it's clear why you are building, and who is why and how you are taking benefit for this particular, project.
I will bring the most a more emotional perspective to this. I will say like, like trying to, like Jesus mentioned, the first one should be like know and understand your motivations. Like like you need to be like really, you need to take all the time those motivations for you. Um, Take care of yourself. And like be aware that people are not all the people are going to be happy. Some people are going to be like disagree with your decisions, like just trying to be like reliable in that aspect. Um, Also, like Jesus mentioned, it's really important, like making open source is not just about like writing and upload code to the project. It's about like connecting with the people, connecting with humans. What are you doing? Actually, you need to have like that, like you need to have you need to have awareness of that. Like at the end, people is going to to use the tool you're doing. Obviously, if you are open source, yeah. So just be aware of that. So if you don't like to talk to people, probably it's gonna be a little problem there. What are the other things? More like this is not like another step, but at least like a conclusion for me. Like making open source is one of the most incredible things that happen in my life because for that I have a job. I have uh, we have a we build or we start a company for that. So I will encourage like everyone, like I always encourage everyone to involve in the open source ecosystem. Uh, we are talking more about the experience, not all the great experience, also the bad experiences. But at the end is like I mean uh, you need to have both to have fun at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like, and again, and recommend people to work in this. I agree with that. It's not like we are not encouraging you to do this. It's the opposite. Like, we encourage people to do this. But be patient,
Yeah, yeah.
willing to talk to people, and doing something other people use, and it's great to see, how that happens when people, it's like, approach you, no, this is great what you guys building, or this helped me to solve this particular problem. So but I think it's be patient, and I mean making and just also be open to receive,
Yeah.
to be have this honest conversation with other people.
And the other thing is whatever is the end result, the one thing is like for sure is you're going to learn a lot of things. You're going to learn a lot. Whatever is the thing you are involved on. Uh, I remember talking with of I mean in other space, like I really fortunate because with the open source or contributing with the open source bring me the privilege to not apply to any job in taking of life. I mean, everything, all the jobs that I have was because I was an expert of the was an expert in the Drupal world, in the things that I was working on, in the projects where I contribute. That was like people start like ask me, hey, uh, you need a job? Yes, I need a job. We have a job. You want to take it? Yeah, sure. That'll also bring a lot of and but at the end was like I was well for me at least it was for the love of art and the good things come secondary. At least what that was my experience. So it's really I'm grateful for that. Uh, but at the end, the learning, the learnings you're going to have on involving in open source community, and the things you're going to learn, the experience you are going to bring to you, and I mean, and like like be consistent in that in that way is going to bring like at the end results for something, like a job or being like being popular probably. I'm not really popular, but at least I mean I have a job, and that we made a company like based on that was like the first. I mean that is where I know a lot of people. I mean, in the open source, is where I met Jesus and Jorge, and yeah, a lot of people, and yeah, that was a really good experience, at least for personally for me, and yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, those things probably are going to happen, or probably not, but uh,
Or
it,
maybe it's gonna happen, but not on the first project. Again, getting back to the
yeah,
passion point.
yeah, yeah. So. I mean, go for it. Like, be
Break a
involved
leg.
in break a leg. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the most the main takeaway for the break a leg.
yeah. No, no, totally agree. I think like this discussion has covered these two sides of the open source, like in many regards, not like from the internal motivation to the external motivation, but also like the expectations versus reality. But at the end of the day, what I also take from this is that it's worth it. No, it's something that,
Yeah,
like you were saying, that's why it exists, because at the end of the day, it also sustains the development community. Like these big projects wouldn't exist if it wasn't for open source. So yeah, I would encourage people to use this as a guide or a reference. And also, if you need any help, just to remind them, like we can also help you with your open source strategy, whether if you are evaluating if you open source makes sense for your project, or you need a guide uh, for your open source or certain to consult something. We also offer that service. Maybe in that regard, it's more like a product or an offering, but at the end of the day, the idea is for us to help you with our own experience, get you through it, and yeah, like help you make your project as you expect, or at least make it more sustainable if that's your goal. But anyway, I wanted to thank you again, Omar, Jesus, for joining us. This was a very interesting discussion. And to all of the people also seeing this, thank you again. Hope you to see you on the next one. And that's
bye
it.
bye.
Bye.
Take care.